Are we ready to finish week 9? I will pass back the rest of the stuff that I'm passing out when we do our in-class assignment.
We got 100 on homework.
No?
100 on homework.
How did I get 100? I got 100.
All right, so where are we? Today is March 14th, finishing week 9. We have a lecture next week on Tuesday. Thursday is quiz 3. So this lecture, Tuesday, and then quiz 3 on Thursday. Usual routine, nothing changes. Do I even need to send new instructions out like I did with quiz 2? I mean, everybody knows the routine now, right? Nothing changes, everything's the same. Anything on Canvas is available to you to go ahead. No previous tests from any semesters or your old tests. You can't have old tests out when you're taking the final exam, stuff like that. But any of the notes that you go ahead and write, you can turn it into digital and use, and everything like that, the usual. All right, now, let's go. Here's week 9 instructions. We have a written assignment, Excel assignment, due in 5 days. The written assignment looks like this. You have this 2x2 contingency table there. You know that it adds up to 300. So if you wanted to just start with some probabilities and I said, hey, what's the probability of candidate B? I got all these pieces of paper in here, I'm just gonna pull one out. What's the probability that says candidate B on there? You know to add up 82 plus 83 and divide by 300. That's the math you would show if that were a question. But this isn't a question about what's the probability of that or what's the probability of this. It's about you showing me 2 different events are independent or not. And whatever process you use to prove that they are or are not independent of each other. So that's what this is about. You have 2 of them. The first one is comparing if females in candidate A are independent of each other, the event females in candidate A, and the second one's all about male and candidate B if they're independent of each other. And we talked, a lot about that on Tuesday. So there's the written assignment, just 2 of these. The Excel assignment, here's the weird part. This Excel assignment is again one of those weird weeks where you are truly sending me the Excel spreadsheet attached to an email directly to me. Please try to avoid sending it through Canvas. And that spreadsheet is you're gonna have a sheet, see where it says sheet 1 right there? You're gonna have a sheet 2 and a sheet 3 with 2 pivot tables, one on 2 and one on sheet 3. And I'm gonna be able to open up the details of that pivot table and see that you set it up just the way it's supposed to be set up following these directions. I'm gonna do examples that are almost just like this. So it shouldn't be that hard. Now let me point out, there isn't just one pivot table to do, there's 2. Here's the first one right here. I'm just gonna read the instructions real quick. Create a pivot table that will display the amount of purchases for each region. So you wanna have regions either in rows or in columns, and then the amounts for each region underneath or next to them with the heading amounts. Make sure and use the insert tab and select pivot table chart? I don't know, the table I think. Have your regions be the rows. Oh, I'm literally telling you, make the regions your rows and the columns and the column total amount purchases. Here's my hint. When you follow these directions step by step on this assignment, boom, 2, 3, 4 steps. There's even a little more instruction right here. Start by making sure and highlight the titles and include those titles when you are highlighting all this data like I'm doing right now. If I were to keep going to the bottom, notice I have those titles highlighted. That's the #1 mistake made most likely by students, so I'm pointing this out to you right now. A lot of students will highlight the data starting here in A8 and not get the titles. You've got to include those titles, so start in A7 and highlight the data like that. Everybody with me? Big hint there. That'll save you some points. I don't even know what I mean, save you some points. Because either you're getting all the points or you're getting none of the points. That's the deal with this week's assignment. What does it say? What does it say? Pivot table must be correct or it must be resubmitted. The pivot table must be correct. So I'm suggesting start on it today and send me a copy of your first attempt at it, and I will look at it as quickly as possible, and I'm gonna get back to everybody. Last year, I only got back to you if there was a problem and you needed to resubmit it, last semester. And a couple people didn't get that, and they're waiting for me to say it was okay or not okay. So this semester, I'm getting back to everyone. When you send me a spreadsheet, either I'm saying it looks good or okay, or I'm saying this needs to be redone. And I'll probably give you some hints. But the advantage of handing it in early, knowing you can't get a grade unless it's perfect, is that I can respond to you and you can get it redone before it was due and have no point reduction. The only way you get a point reduction is if you waited to hand it in just before it's due, and I couldn't get to it to say, hey, it looks okay, or something, there's a problem with it, until after it was due, and then you're subject to a late reduction when you resubmit. So that'd be the only way that could happen, that you could lose points. But you still gotta resubmit, and if you're handing in late, do not handwrite this particular spreadsheet. This is one of the ones that would never be handwritten. You have to create that pivot table. You can't draw it, you have to create it. So you're definitely handing in the spreadsheet this time, even if it's late, you're handing in the spreadsheet. Does everybody get it? All right, this is just this week, don't forget. Next week, we go back to handwriting the Excel answers. I know when week 5, when we handed in a spreadsheet, some people thought we were handing in spreadsheets in week 6 too, and we weren't. So next week we go back, week 10's assignment, we'll go back to handwriting the Excel, but this week we're literally making it. So there's part of the beginning of the directions. Look at how specific the directions are here. I created directions that should allow everybody to get this on their first try, I hope. Highlight your data range from cell A7. I literally tell you what cell to start on. What am I, crazy? From cell A7 all the way to the bottom right-hand corner of the data. Click on the Insert tab. Then click on Pivot Table on the far left. Then select Table Range. Then make sure, oh, here it is. This is a key part also. Make sure and select New Worksheet. I'm about to do an example. You'll see this open up, and I'm going to point out where I'm making sure it's going to do a new worksheet when it creates the table. That's when Worksheet 2 opens up, and that's where you're working on that first table and creating it. And then when you do problem number 2, let me go down here. There's number 2, same thing. This thing opens up, and I'm saying create new worksheet. That's when worksheet number 3 will open up. And that's where your second table will be, is on worksheet number 3. All right, I better demo it. I can see a lot of looks on your face like this is too much information without seeing how to do it. But I'm not doing your homework assignment, right? Start right here. So here's an example. It's doing exactly what we talked about. I'm gonna create a pivot table here. I don't know, let me see. I'm gonna follow the directions, even though I was gonna make one up. But I'll follow, the first table we'll do is we'll follow exactly what these directions say. Highlight your data range. Now, on the homework it says start at A7 because I wanted to make sure you included the headings. But watch, I'm just gonna include the headings even though it's B8 here. Now I'm gonna highlight, pretend I'm highlighting all the data, but, oh, it only goes 20. Okay, I can highlight all the data. Okay, there's all the data. I let go of my left click. There's all the data. Select the Insert tab. So here I go. There's the Insert tab. Left click on it. Now it says then Pivot Table in the far left. There's Pivot Table right there. Then it says then select from Table Range. So right there where it says from Table Range, there's what opens up. Look, you gotta make sure that's clicked at New Worksheet. Does everybody see where I'm pointing right now? Not existing worksheet. I need it to be on New Worksheet. And problem 2, you also will click on New Worksheet right there. So that will be worksheet number 3. So there's New Worksheet. Table Range, it should be the exact range I have highlighted. So it says sheet 1 from B8 to G28. Sure enough, B1 to G28 is the area I highlighted. So that's perfect. That's all you gotta do there. You gotta make sure that range is correct. Make sure that it says New Worksheet is clicked. Then you click on OK. Everybody with me? I'm about to go to a New Worksheet, so you'll see what will happen when you click OK here. There it is. Sometimes your pivot table field tables will open up automatically on this New Worksheet. Sometimes it won't. I'm going to close it. I want to pretend it didn't open up because I'm afraid some people it won't open up on. So here it is. I'm going to close it. So here's how sometimes it opens up and there's no pivot table field. So that's why I put here how to get that pivot table field open back up in case you happen to start your pivot table and that thing doesn't open. You go to the tab called Pivot Table Analysis. So let me find pivot, there it is right there, pivot table. Let me go here. Now there it is, pivot table analysis. Oh, it's analyze. I thought it was analysis. Anyway, analyze. Ready? Then go to field list. So I'm going right here where it says far right, right there where it says field list, and there's that box. This is the dialog box you have to have open to create your pivot table. Now I'm going to go back and read what kind of pivot table, what's going to be in the column. One of these things, either the order number or the item or the category, the revenue or the date, what else is there? Or region are going to need to be in rows. And then one of these other ones are probably going to be in values. So let's see what the instructions say. So I'm going back to sheet 1. I'm going to the instructions. If you want the table, oh wait, what does it say? Okay. If you want the table to show the revenue for each product sold, so this is what we're going for. We're probably going to make each product in rows, and then the column will be how much sold for each one of those products. So if you want the table to show the revenue for each product sold, click on item and drag it to rows. So let me go back to sheet 2. Whoops, yep, sheet 3, I mean. I'm going to click on item right here and drag it. Now you can instead click the box, but I like to drag. So I'm going right here, left click, holding my left click down, I'm dragging down here to rows. There it is. Let me get it back out of there. How do I get it out? Hang on. Wait, hang on, get it out, hang on, we're gonna get it out. There, it's back out of there. So here and now, I'm clicking in rows, clicking on item, and now it's back in. So there's another way of doing it. You don't have to drag it. Here's dragging it again. There, go ahead, ask a question.
Oh, can you show me again how you did this step?
To get that field back up? Okay, she's saying, hey, what if this opens and no field there? You find the tab at the top here called Pivot Table Analyze. Then go to the far right where it says Field List, and there it is. And items are in the rows because we had just put it in there. Now I'm going back to the instructions. This is just like your instructions. This is how you would make sure you're doing your table right. Go back to the instructions and follow step by step. This is the guaranteed way to make it perfect. So now it says click on revenue and drag it to make sure it is in the values box. So I'm going back to sheet 3. Now I'm going to put my pointer over revenue. I'm going to left click, hold it down, and drag it to down here to the bottom right where it says values. Right there. There it is. Here is the sum of revenue for bolts, hammers, irons, and nails. Total of all of them, $8,518 of those items we've sold, according to the data. And that's it. There is a pivot table. It may be asking for something different though. Let me give you an example. Oh, it is different? Yeah, but I'm not doing the homework. I'm doing an example. I'm doing something a little different than the homework so that I'm not doing the homework for it. Yeah, I'm not doing the homework. I'm just giving an example. I could have moved category. I could have moved region. Region could have been moved down to item. Let me give you an example. I'm going to go ahead and take item out. And now I'm going to grab region. And I'm going to drag region down to rows. And look what just happened. Because I still have sum of revenue sitting in values, it went ahead and added up the revenue for each region. Look at the totals the same, 8,518, that didn't change. It just broke it up into the regions instead of what items I sold. Now, I want to make sure everybody looks at this, because this is how you can change what the values will be. In column B, go down to values, and you see this little down box arrow right here. If you open that, and you go to value field settings, it will give you all kinds of options what to change those values. Instead of it being the sum of revenue, maybe I want to have the average of revenue. So what was the average amount I sold in each region? So I click on average, click OK, and look, now it changed to average revenue for each region. But wait a minute, maybe I wanted the average revenue for each item. So I go back here and unclick item, unclick region, and change that to item. So now by putting item down here in rows, I'm going to have the average revenue for each item. There it is, $286 is the average revenue for bolts, and so on and so on. My average revenue per item is $425.90. What's category? I forgot. Let's go back and look. I want to see. Category is, is this a supply? Is this tools? Is it other? So let's figure out what, I want to go back. I'm going to switch revenue from average revenue. I'm going to go back to the sum of revenue, total revenue, but I don't want it per item. This time I want it per category. And there it is. Other, 3,626. Supplies, 2,108. Tools, 2,784. The sum of all the revenue is still 8,518. That did not change. Does everybody see how easy this is?
Yeah.
What's in sheet 2? Is that like a previous answer? There you go. Previous answer, 8,518. We did it again, 8,518, but this time we just are using categories instead of items. And we switch that. What happens if we also do another? Look at that. We did a subcategory. Other, and then the item is iron. Everything we've sold in other was 3,626, and the items in other are just iron, 3,626. But look at supplies. We sold a total of 2,108. In supplies are bolts and nails, and they add up to 2,108. In tools is 2,784, but the only item in tools is hammer, so all of those sales in tools were hammers. Still adds up to 8,518. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. Follow the directions and it will be easy.
Okay, so for the second part, it says create a pivot table. We create it again, or?
No, the problem number 2 is creating a whole new pivot table and a whole new worksheet. You have 2 different ones to create in your homework. Yes. So let's do this now. Let's do a whole new one here. I'm going to do a whole new pivot table. This time I'm using this. Voters, party, precinct, age group, last voted, years, what is that? Year, age group, last voted, years registered. Is that what that is? Years registered. Some people are registered for 51 years. Wow. Ballot status, permanent, poll, perm, poll, whatever that means. All right, here we got some data. Let's see, what about, let's count how many voters there are in each party. How many Republicans, how many parties are there? Now here's the deal. This data is so large, this is more like really when you use this, when the data is large. I believe there are maybe like thousands of rows of data. Let's take a look. Look at all this. I'm at 1,700, 1,800, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So there's over 4,000, about 4,000 pieces of data. For me to highlight this, it would take forever. So I'm just going to highlight the first half or something. Let me see how fast I can do it. Where should I start my highlight? A3, A2, A1. You got to include the headings. You got to include the headings. So now I'm just going to put it on extra fast and see how far I can go. See, that's about as fast as I can get it. It'll take forever to get 4,000. So I'm just going to do, I don't know, stop it at 2,000 maybe. Oh, no, I got to go faster. We got something here. Maybe we're doing it all. Any fun yet? Are we having fun? Any part of this is fun. We go? Okay, let's pretend. I'm getting, okay, 3,483. There we go.
I know that you don't.
All right, there's our data.
We know that.
What do we do next? Come on, someone tell me, what do we do next? I just highlighted the data.
We put insert.
Insert, very good. Insert, then go to what? Pivot tables. Click, then go to what? Table range, very good. What do I need to check? The range looks good, all right. A1 to G, 3,483. We only left out maybe a couple hundred, a few hundred. New worksheet is checked, right? So we're gonna go to a new worksheet. Here we go. Oh, our table, let's pretend. Our table didn't open. Our field table didn't open. What do we do? Pivot table and analyze. Far right field list, very good. There it is. Okay, I said we want to count how many of each party, so I'm gonna put the party in rows. There they are. American Independent declined to answer what party they are. Democrat, Green, Republican. Which party will have the most? Don't forget, I didn't do all 4,000 though. But this is like a random sample. We did a whole bunch of them. We did over 3,400 of them. So let's see. There's our titles. Now I want to count. So I'm going to put voters over here in values, but that doesn't make sense. That's the sum of the voters. Each voter had a voter number. It's just adding those numbers up, so it doesn't make sense. I want to count how many voters. So there should be a total. Didn't I highlight like 3,400? So there should be a total of 3,400. Watch how I'm going to change this to sum of voters. I click on that. Click on value field setting. I'm going to the word count to count each one of the numbers. Each one in the category here, and look at now, 3,482. We have mostly Democrats and Republicans. And how many people said none of your business? 443.
Did you just do Control A to select the whole?
Ah, thank you. He's right, I should have used Control A. That would have been a lot faster. When I had to go to the bottom though, click to the bottom, then Control A, then click on the bottom, right? Okay, what else could we gather from this information? Look at the different things. Precincts. Instead of what party everybody's in, I want to know how many people, voters there are in each precinct. So I'm unclicking party, and I'm clicking precinct. We still have 3,482 voters. I'm going to click party. It will break them up now. Oh, I'm sorry, not party. Precinct. Oh, there's only one precinct? Oh, that didn't work. Oh, it went into the wrong thing. Where's precinct at? Ah, hang on, watch. I'm going to drag it over here. There we go. There we go. So there's all these different precincts, still a total of 3,482 voters, but how many are in each precinct now? How about how many voters in each age group? So I'm going to turn off precinct, and I'm going to left click on age group and bring it down to rows. And I have count of voters, so it's going to count how many voters in each age group. Let me scroll up. There are 118 out of 3,482 young voters, 21 to 30. But it's the old people, 71 and above. And I'm not 71 yet, so that's not me. But 71 and above is the most voted. Oh no, I take that back. 41 to 50, 837. There's our winner. Oh, now what am I doing? 51 to 60, 886. There you go.
So you're one of them.
No, that's not true. I'm over 60. I'm an old man. Thanks, appreciate that. Too bad it can't affect your grade. Does everybody feel like they can make a pivot table? Because if you really feel confident you can make a pivot, you have to yell because I got this fan because it's so hot in here.
Yeah.
Darn, can you believe it?
Do you need to rename the sheets for the different pivot tables?
Thank you. No, but if you want to, that's great. I'll take it. You don't. I'm not grading on whether you rename the sheets. But you do have to make sure that you have one of your pivot table homework on a sheet number 2 and the other one on sheet number 3. I don't care which one's on which sheet, but I'm looking for a sheet 2 and a sheet 3 where your 2 answers are to go and check out your pivot tables. All right, and I'm making sure you just getting copy and paste a pivot table. When I go to look at your pivot table, like let's say it looks like this, I'm going up here to, where am I here? Where's our usual headings? Where's data? Yeah, where's that at?
Do you have to, you might have to touch the pivot table.
Oh, okay. Boom, thank you. Like pretend that's not there. Pretend that's not there. Pretend that's not there. I'm going to here, and then I'm going to here, and I'm looking to see that you truly put these down here and didn't just copy and paste something. So this assignment, making a pivot table is so easy, especially if you follow the directions I put literally on the assignment. Just follow those directions step by step. Everybody should be able to get this on the first try. But for those who came in late, I'm going to refresh what I said earlier. If you don't get it on the first try, I'm emailing you as quickly as I can saying, hey, there's something wrong with this, and maybe giving you a hint, and you need to redo it and get it resubmitted before the due time. This is an assignment that has to be correct, or you keep resubmitting it until you give up. Don't get me wrong, I've had people give up. I don't know, if for some reason they found it hard. But even if you end up going past the deadline, the due date, and you gotta hand in late, you're still handing in a spreadsheet on this particular assignment. We're not handwriting the answer. This spreadsheet is a do or die. This is the reason I'm doing this way, is I was told from the DS302 professor that you're gonna have several or many pivot tables if you take the other professor for DS302. And so you're supposed to be prepared for them. Now, in my particular 302, which I didn't think I was teaching the rest of the time here, now all of a sudden I have one in fall. I don't happen to include a lot of pivot tables in my DS302. But I've received a lot of emails from last semester students. So you gotta plan ahead and realize you may not have me for DS302, you may have the other one, and you're gonna have a lot of pivot tables if you do. So you gotta, that's why you gotta be able to figure out this assignment. Be able to make those 2 easy pivot tables. The only hard part about the second pivot table, it says that I want, instead of sum of revenue, average of revenue. You gotta know to go into that little click down here, right down here, for that second assignment. I'm giving away how to do it, darn. You open that up, go to value field setting, and when you open it, it will be on sum. You're gonna need to change it to average for that second homework problem. Everybody get it? Any questions on pivot tables? We got lots of time. We're going into Poisson table after this, but we're ahead of schedule right now. So if you want to see another pivot table, just say so. Does anybody think they want to see one more demonstrator, or do you think you got it?
No, we got it.
Yeah, you want to see one more?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, here we go. Let's do one more. This time, let me pick another spreadsheet. Let's go back to, what is this one? This one right here. Let me go to here. Okay, let me just highlight it. I don't even know what I just got on here. Okay, we're gonna do this one. We're gonna highlight all the data this time using, what is it? Control A. Here we go. So I'm left clicking in the top left-hand corner. I'm gonna go down. What's going on here? How did the heading stay? Did that stay? Then I'm going all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner. Hang on. I'm gonna control, left, no, I blew it already. Darn it. Okay, let me go to the top right, left-hand corner. Isn't it shift hit? Shift, I think it's shift, it's been so long. And now I'm gonna shift, hit this, there. Shift, then hit the bottom right-hand corner. And did it highlight everything all in one try there? Anybody wanna see that again? Let me do it again. I left click in the top left-hand corner, all by itself. I'm now going down to the bottom right-hand corner, and before I click in it, I'm holding the shift button down, then left click there, and it highlights all the way from where I left off. Right there. So there it is, all the data. What's the next step? Talk me through this. What's the next step? Insert. So let me go to insert.
Pivot table.
Okay, ready? Pivot table.
From table range.
From table range. Check the range A1 to G4001. That's all of it. Make sure that new worksheet is clicked, right? Make sure new worksheet. Click OK. We're on a whole new worksheet. This little pivot table thing didn't open up. Now we gotta get that thing open so we can create our pivot table. We go to pivot table analyze. Then we go to field list, right?
Yeah.
There it is. And we go back, we look at the instructions, and it says, create a pivot table that tells how many voters there are in each, how many voters, I don't know, in each, we'll do party again, I guess. Region, let's do region. Let me scroll down. How many voters there are in each region? Oh, where's region? We don't even have region on here. Okay, so let's go with how many there are in each party. So I'm gonna left click on party, I'm holding down my left click, I'm dragging it to rows because I want it to be, now if you accidentally put that in columns, I think the instruction on the homework specifically does say use rows, but watch, you'll still get the right answer. Whether you get full credit or not, I don't know, but if this were just like you were doing it on your own, let me get party back out of there. Now I'm gonna put party in columns. There it is, it just goes across the top instead of down the left-hand side is all. And the numbers will go across this way, and you'll have your total probably over here, I guess. Let's take a look. I forgot what we're counting. We're counting voters. So let me go to voters. But when I first put voters over here in values, it's probably gonna be the sum of voters, the voter numbers added together. And sure enough, sum of the voters. So here's, if you add it, that's not what we want. We wanna know how many voters. So this is just like homework problem number 2 a little bit. I'm gonna go down here to sum of voters and open up the down arrow, go to value field settings, and instead of being the sum of all those voter numbers, I'm switching it to count. I wanna count how many of each party. So I switch it to count, and it should add up to about 4,000, 3,999 or 4,000 voters. That's how you know you did it right. Hit okay, and look at the grand total, 4,000. So yes, we must have did it right. There's 4,000 voters we highlighted. 61 are in American Independent, 550 are declined to tell us what party they are. 2,157 said Democrat, 41 said Green, 1,191 said Republican, and there's 4,000 total. How's that? How do we feel? We can do our homework.
Yep.
And Tuesday's lecture was all about the written assignment. And your in-class assignment is related to Tuesday's lecture. What? Oh my God, we're gonna get started early on it though, because in case you can't remember Tuesday's lecture, you'll have time to review a little bit. But before we go forward, we're done with pivot tables. That went better than I expected, by the way. And now look at this. Transitioning to Poisson table. Oh my God, we gotta learn, go back to Poisson again. This is week 6. This is from week 6. When we learned how to do it manually, and we learned how to do it using Excel. Matter of fact, I wanna refresh your memory how to do Excel, so I opened up week 6 homework answer. Where is it? Is this it? Here's the homework answer. Let's review, this is using Excel to solve it. A textile manufacturer process finds that on average, 5 flaws occur every 100 yards. Now this is Poisson. We don't have to turn that into lambda. We just have to make sure that the interval, 5 flaws every 100 yards, is the same interval of the question. If the question's about 50 yards instead of 100, we gotta convert 5 flaws to 2.5. Remember, this is from week 6, not from exponential last week. Exponential, we would have to convert that to a lambda, right? How many per 1 yard? But this is Poisson, so I just want to review. Here we go. 5 flaws per 100 yards. A, write the Excel equation using the Excel function to calculate the probability of exactly 4 flaws per 100 yards. We don't have to convert the mean. It's already in 100 yards. It says 5 flaws in 100 yards. So our mean for this one is 5. The question, what do I put? X is usually referred to as X. That we're asking about is 4. Now, don't forget, Poisson is like binomial. If that would have said 4 or more, we have to put in the parentheses 3 or less, so we would switch it to a 3. But this isn't 4 or more, this is 4 exactly. So 4 exactly. If we were to use Excel, we would put 4, 5, 0. A 0 on the end, because we're only trying to find the probability of 4. Not 4 or less, not 4 or more, just 4. Now, we see the answer, 0.1755. 0.175467. I just rounded 55. Look at this table. Here's how you use it. Across the top, the rows, the big thick rows right here, is your mean. You want to match that up to whatever the mean is you're trying to find the probability of in your Poisson question. So here it goes from 0.1 to 1. The second one goes from 1.1 to 2. Our mean is 5. So I got to scroll down to a 5. Here's 2.1 to 3, 3.1 to 4, and there's 4.1 to 5 right there. So I'm going right here where the 5 is. There's our mean. Now, each one of these rows here represent your X. Our particular X is, we're trying to find the probability of 4 for 100 yards, when usually there's 5. The probability of 4. So I'm going straight over from 4 to our column where the 5 is. Look at that, 0.1755, the exact same answer as Excel got. Well, this is only going 4 digits, but yeah. You get it? This table's easy. Here's the hard part though. If that would have said 4 or less, you gotta look up 4, you gotta look up 3, you gotta look up 2, you gotta look up 1, you gotta look up 0, and add those all together. So look at where I'm at. The mean is 5. Wait, is the question on this, does this say 4 or less? Tell me this says 4 or less. That's 3 or less. 4 or more. Darn, that's 3 or less. Okay, we're gonna do 3 or less. 3 or less. It's still 100 yards, so the mean is still 5, but this time we're doing, this is 3 or less. That's all that's changed. All right, let me get my finger ready. I'm gonna try to do this on the calculator. The answer for 3 or less is right there, 0.2650. 0.2650 for 3 or less. Now, if you're using this for 3 or less, again, the mean is 5. I'm going to 3. There's 3. 1404. Now, hang on, I got my calculator up. Let me move it over. Let me go right here. Okay, don't forget this goes 0, 1, 2, 3. There's 3. 1404. 0.1404 plus. Next one, 0.0842. 0.0842. Oh, hang on. 0.0842 plus. The next one. The next one is going to, let's see, we did 3, we did 2, now here's 1. 0.0337. 0.0337 plus. The last one for 0 is 0.0067. 0.0067. Now, if I did this right, the other, what did it say on the Excel spreadsheet? Hang on. What was the answer? 0.2650. 0.2560. Let me hit equals. 0.2650. What? Is that the same answer now? 0.2650? Yes. You see what I did though? When you're using the table for the more than or the less than, you got to add every number that's involved in that less than or the more than, all those probabilities together to get the full probability. And what happens in Excel, by us putting a 1 on the end, see the numbers 3, 5, 1, Excel will add them all up for us. We can do it all in one shot. We don't have to look at each number and add them. That's the disadvantage of the table. Okay, now we're going to do a more than. More than. So the next one down, let me go back to the spreadsheet here. This one here says 4 flaws or more on 100 yards. The mean is still 5. But now instead of 3 or less, 4 or more. Is this more than 4 or 4 or more? 4 or more. So 4 is included in the more. And if we were using Excel, you can see I had to use the opposite of 4 or more. 1 minus Poisson, parenthesis, 3 is the first number. The opposite of 4 or more is 3 or less. If that said more than 4, 4 would be the opposite, 4 or less, because it's not in the more than 4. But this one says 4 or more, so the opposite would be 3 or less. So that's why there's a 3 in the front. Here's the deal. For us to find the probability of 4 or more, look how many things we have to add up. Here we go. The mean is still 5, but where's 4? Right there? We'd have to add 0.1755 plus 0.1755 plus 0.1462 plus 0.1044 plus 0.0653. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Look at how, and you got to show me the work. So you got to show me every number you're using to add it up. If the question said 4 or more, use the table. Hang on. But the easy way to do this is do the opposite of 4 or more, because then you only got to add up 4 numbers. You got to add up, here's 3 or less, 1404, plus 0842, plus 0.0337, plus 0.0067, then subtract that total from 1.0. The opposite, if you add the opposite, you can subtract it from 100%, 1.0, and you found the 4 or more. Just like in Excel, how we have to put the opposite in parentheses. Whatever the shortest route is to find the answer, if you want to find the opposite, or instead of the whole thing, do the opposite then and just subtract it from 1. There's a couple questions. Okay. So Marion, did you have a question? No? There was 2 or 3 hands up. What happened to them? Did I answer them by?
No, I was just gonna tell you that we could do the opposite. Of the
Oh,
credit.
you're gonna tell me. Oh, that's what it all was. Okay. Let's do another one. This one says 8 or less flaws in 200 yards. 8 or less flaws in 200 yards. Here's the deal. Because this says 200 yards, our mean is no longer 5. It says 8 or less though, right? 8 or more or 8 or less? 8 or less. What's our mean? What is it? 10. Because our mean says 5 flaws in 100 yards, the question's about 200 yards, we have to double our mean. So instead of being 5, it's a 10. Here we go. Now, I'm probably not going to ask you a question like this and have you have to use the table to find the answer, because the amount of time it would take you to have to find, what is this again, 8 or less? No matter which direction you go, where's the table? Whoop, there it is. First of all, what's our mean? We got to find 10. There's 6. There's 6.1 through 7. There's still 6.1 through 7. There's 7.1 through 8. 8.1 through 9. There's 10. Look at all these numbers. 8 or less, you'd start at right there, 11.26, and you'd add 0.09, 0.01, 0.06, and this one, this. You'd add all those numbers together for 8 or less. Or if you went the opposite direction, there's a heck of a lot more numbers to add. 9 or more, you could add all those and subtract from 1. So you could go either direction, whichever one's, but you gotta show which numbers you're using. Now here's the deal, the only way I know that you're using the table correctly is if you're showing me on the quiz, if this is on the quiz, or on your homework, which it's not, I don't think, you'd have to show me every number you're adding together to find the answer. That's how I know you're using the table correctly, by showing me the numbers you're using to add together. All right? I'm not gonna ask you a question for 8 or less with a mean of 10, because I know how much time this will take for you to add up 9 numbers. You got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so there's 9 numbers to add up. You know, this would be more like 3 or less, 2 or less, to show me that you picked the right numbers to add up. How do we feel? Can we use the Poisson table now? All right? I would say that this is better than doing it manually as far as speed's concerned and easier, but Excel still is much easier than even using this in my opinion. Because you can just do one equation.
Could we use them before?
On the quiz, it will be specific. It will ask you to either use Excel or use the table. But since Excel was on the second quiz, probably just the table would be on this quiz, right? Because that's the new part we learned. All right. That's all I got. How are we doing? Ready for the in-class? We're doing it? I got stuff to pass back while you're doing the in-class. Are there any questions? Are you wondering what the in-class is about, since it's about Tuesday's lecture instead of this lecture? All right, hang on, let me turn off the camera. I'm stalling because we have so much time. Do we want to go see where that rocket's at, that went into space, and see how far it is? Let me ask you this. Did anybody see the one land